the stiff truth. After much anticipating and waiting and some asshole moves from Bob, we can finally do a show today. Apologize for my scheduled conflict and tardiness, Scott, and to leave you hanging on. I have made it back. I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to do a show. How are you doing?
I appreciate the apology. Nobody knows, though, in podcast land that you're late, you're early.
But they ought to know.
No heads
Full
up.
disclosure. They ought to know.
Disclosure. Yeah, Bob did shit the bed a little bit today and decided he was going to go golfing without letting me know when we were going to do the show. But here we are. It is still Sunday. It's still show day. It's still show time. And that's good. Now, I'm going to tell you what, right now, out of the gate, dude, this drink has been sitting here on my countertop for about, say, an hour and a half. It's got heavy. It's got heavy cream in it. So cheers to you. Let's enjoy an Embryo, shall we, sir? An Embryo. Oh, yours looks really nice. Good for you. Mine not so much, but I guess if I hold it up like that, it looks fine. mine's curdled.
If we need to pause this and you're scared and you want to make a fresh one, we could do that. It's movie magic.
It's okay. Let's do it. Ready?
Okay.
Right here. Here we go. Now it's not bad, Bob, and I'll tell you why I got excited initially when I was making these today. I was like, this is essentially like a little tiny mini White Russian in a shot glass, is what I was thinking to myself. Right?
I'm definitely getting that. Yeah, that's exactly what the ingredients lead to.
The ingredients are literally pretty much the same thing, but the way mine looks is a tad frightful, so to speak. But it's all good. I mean, it's actually it's holding its form. Where do I rank this one? I mean, Bob, and I know you didn't ask that, but I'm just going to tell you right now that
it was implied.
Yeah, I'm not sure when I would bust these out, except if I was with somebody that was really, really like a White Russian connoisseur, so to speak. And I was like, hey, man, do you want to have like shots of White Russian? That's a little bit different, but essentially the same thing. Let's make these bad boys and let's do them up. I don't know when, because it's not like super sweet and tasty, because like the coffee liqueur actually bites back a little bit here with this drink. I don't know if it's I don't know. The only thing that's kind of mellow in it is the heavy cream, but it's okay. It's okay. That's all I got to say. I don't know about your feedback, man, but you let me know. What do you think?
The interesting thing that differentiates this from the Russian as far as texture goes is that kind of the way the heavy cream just kind of floats on top. So that's like it's a weird thing because it definitely hits you and goes down first. We're kind of paving the way for the rest of the drink on the palate. So that really makes it different than a White Russian, where a White Russian's kind of like it's like an alcoholic coffee. Right. When it comes down to it, like a really creamy latte or something. Right. So, but this drink, it's not bad. I like it because I like White Russians. So it's right up my alley, but it's definitely, it's probably not stiff enough to be the go-to or even in the top, 10 shots to do, but it's definitely nice to know of its existence. And if someone's like really into White Russians or whatever, to be able to pull this out of the old repertoire and be like, hey, yeah, there's this one shot called an Embryo you might like.
It's not my favorite. Definitely not a shot I would go to. It's nice to know it's out there, though. Do you think that's what people thought about me as an embryo? I just wonder.
Well, I don't even know what to say for that one. But
you know what, dude? I'm gonna just kill this other embryo real quick because I'm sick of looking at it. Cheers. Not bad. Again, I you know what I think it is, dude? It's a tad heavy on the coffee liqueur, and by itself, I'm not a big fan. You know what I mean? You're not gonna see me drinking like room temperature Kahlua like around town. I mean, that sounds like a little strange anyways, but I think that's maybe my thing. I don't know, but
and it's almost like there's too much there to mask the vodka. Like like maybe if it was a 2-to-1 vodka to coffee liqueur ratio, it would be a little bit more like what you're expecting, but it's almost like someone bitched out on it to try to make it a little bit like to try to make it really sweet to kind of cover up that vodka shot, and it's a little bit too
Mhm.
sweet.
That's what I'm kind of saying. It's more than just a couple of these, bro. Like if somebody would have an evening on the town with these, it's gonna be a wicked, wicked hangover in the morning. Just ridiculous. There's just too much sweetness in there. And I don't even know. I did do a little bit of research in the sense of Kahlua coffee liqueur. That's kind of like the marquee coffee liqueur. However, it's coffee liqueur and rum. So what is like some of these other coffee liqueurs? Do you think maybe that the guy that made this didn't use Kahlua, that used like just straight up coffee liqueur? Because I looked, they're out there. I don't know if they're rum based.
I have a coffee liqueur, and I did use just straight up coffee liqueur.
How is it different? I wonder. Is it
I
not
don't know.
rum?
So the Kahlua is a little bit more hazelnutty, right?
Yeah, you like that shit,
I
don't
do.
you?
I just like nutty. So the coffee liqueur is a little bit more like I don't know, like a fucking super like a caramel macchiato kind of a normal flavored coffee or something. But I don't
Interesting.
know. Overall, we did it. It's an embryo. We just downed a couple of embryos, which is perfectly in line with our conversation. So that's good
Absolutely.
that we were able to get that done. You almost had to abort your embryos and make new ones, so I'm glad you didn't.
No. I stayed the course, my friend. You know what I mean? I just knew. I was like, look, I created these. I'm taking them down. I'm gonna kill these fucking embryos. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna handle this shit.
Well, hopefully you don't end up in the hospital, and you're going to be okay with the heavy cream just sitting around festering in that booze for an hour.
I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Much longer than maybe it would have been a science experiment of sorts. But no, hey, definitely one for the book. I can tell you this. I will be mentioning to people, because I get this conversation and this ask all the time from random individuals in the grocery store. Probably it's like, hey, sir, what is your diversity of cocktails you've partaked in? And I'm like, oh yeah, of course, random person. Well, I've had this, and an embryo. It's just one of those things that you're going to say, dude. So I'm glad I can add this to my repertoire, so to speak, of that conversation.
Is
it's
that
going to come up.
You always like get asked that in the line of autographs that are being asked. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's like as soon as I hit the door at the grocery store, I was like, oh my God, it's Scott. Everybody get out of the way. I want to have his babies. But not really, just his embryos. You know what I mean?
This is why we always have to get curbside at the stores. We can't handle this newfound fame.
It's a fucking spectacle, okay? So, and I'm not used to it, but I invite it and I welcome it. All kidding aside, but you're absolutely right. We got some fun things to talk about today, and we're going to get into what the embryos are all about here. But I think we should start our conversation today by talking about really, I think, the best white trash Lifetime movie play out over the past. I mean, she's been dead now for about a week or so. I think maybe a little less than a week. But boy, this was an action-packed 11 days here. You know what I'm saying here, Bob? I'm talking about the Whites, not just white trash in general, but Vicki and Casey White, no relation.
How about that?
Yeah, it's so strange.
Time I assumed that they like got married on the underground or something like that, or like some sort of internet marriage or something. I just assumed it. What a weird thing.
True. It's a very strange thing, but I guess you can say that the last name White is not super rare or anything like that. But at the same time, quite a coinky dink that these two little lovebirds did their thing. I don't even know what you would call what they did, but they went on an escapade, that's for sure. But in case anybody hadn't heard about this, Vicki White, I want to say she was 58? Yeah, 56 years old. She was she already retired? No, she wasn't retired.
No. This all happened the exact day she was due, her last day on working, and she was supposed to retire at the end of the fucking day. So this was literally her last chance to have access to implement this plan, because if they waited another day, she would no longer be a guard and she would no longer have that access.
Correct. Okay, great. And I heard that too. She literally had sold her house very recently, right before this. I mean, she mentally was getting prepared to just transition and I don't know if it was to enjoy her golden years and go play bingo or anything like that. I think it was going, I don't know, start her new life with an ex-con or whatever was going on here. But again, long short, she is a prison guard. I want to say this is this in, where was it? Is it
I
Fort
thought it was
Wayne,
in Florida.
Indiana? I
Is
believe
it
it was.
Indiana? I thought it was in Florida. It's Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Is what Lauderdale
Yes.
County.
Yes. Okay. So it's not. Yes, I believe it is Indiana.
So
But
I
I
was
know
actually
Lauderdale.
looking for that like right now to figure out, because Lauderdale, you instantly think Fort Lauderdale, and then there's the crazy white trash of it. You automatically presume it's Florida.
Lauderdale.
So,
Yeah, Lauderdale County. Oh my gosh. Alabama? Where did I hear it was Indiana? Huh. Either way, I think it's Indiana. Look, can we see where this happened real quick? I think it's Alabama, a jail breakout. Okay. Either way. Okay. So I believe it's in Alabama, which is fine. If you look at their pictures, this totally makes sense. Okay. Whether it be Indiana or Alabama, to be honest with you, Bob, it doesn't really matter. But and you heard it too. What is this? What is this called? This, some kind of philia, this obsession with having like a romantic relationship with some type of prisoner or inmate. But it sounds like Vicki definitely had it there, because she fell head over heels for a young buck named Casey White. Now, Casey White and her, quite the polar opposites with their stature and how they kind of carried themselves too. She was like what, like 5'1", 5'2", something like that. Casey, on the other hand, is 38-year-old, 6'9", 260 some pounds, just a big ball of white trash. And they hooked up, right?
I
Go ahead.
gotta stop you, because I just looked up Lauderdale County Detention Facility,
Yeah.
and it's in Mississippi.
What the hell's going on here, dude?
So
They're all over the place. Okay. Good. Well, look, they're all over the South. They're all over where people like this, that look like this and do these kind of things, run rampant, Bob. It's one of the things we need to clean up in the South. But at the same time,
so here's the thing. They took the truck to Evansville, Indiana.
oh, that's where Evansville pops in. Okay.
They went to Indiana on their kind of crime spree, I guess.
Crime spree, or I don't even know what you would.
I mean,
call
it
this,
was a
actually.
crime spree, because like the first plan of like when they went to breakout. Well, so let's just like let's start at the beginning, all right?
Please.
What's her name? Vicki?
Yes, Vicki.
Vicki, right?
Vicki.
So Vicki and Casey,
baby.
right? So Vicki's here, trying to hit the single scene at the county jail, like trying to like see what hot piece of ass is like easy pickings at the county jail. So she finally finds this overweight, really tall, bald, white trash looking dude that really.
Could we call him Dumpy too? Could we call him? He's kind of hanging everywhere too.
He's dumpy, a little frumpy.
He's not really what we'd call tight or in shape or cut or anything like that. He definitely looks like he's been living the convict life. You know what I mean? And not hitting the gym all the time. So, okay, there's that.
No, it looks like he's been hitting like, I don't know, a combination of like heroin and meth or something all the time.
And Little Debbie's or something too?
And Little Debbie and some sort of like common pastry. So enough about this guy's weight. So Vicki finds this guy and she's just like, looking up at him thinking, man, I can see boogers in your nose. And I also want your dick. And so they fall in love, and obviously he's probably has this game plan of, I need to get out of here. I'm looking at 75 years. Right. Well, and so let's pause there. We need to unpack that part before we move forward and explaining the love affair that these guys have. Is you just went over it, but do you want to talk about why Casey White was looking at 75 years?
Yeah, I do actually. And I think this was enlightening here, because this is some gumption here. That's all I'm going to say. This is some good old fashioned determination and just really, really moving forward for somebody's goals right here. Because if you're going to go and if you're going to get arrested, you might as well like do as much as you possibly can within a small window of time. Am I correct? Because this is back on December 2015. We got Casey White is now serving a 75-year sentence for being convicted of attempted murder, kidnapping, robbery, burglary, breaking and entering a vehicle. I don't know how much that's different than breaking and entering like a house or like a business, but hey, they were very specific about this. He broke into a car, so call it what it is. also animal cruelty, and attempting to elude police. You know what that just means? You fucking got caught. That's all that means.
Right.
Like,
After trying not to get caught.
in fact, I don't even know how you can have attempting to elude police without the attempting, like as a charge, because they would literally have to catch you to give you that charge, and automatically the attempting would be thrown in there. That's neither here nor there.
Plus, this guy's an out of shape 6'9" criminal, right? So he's not running very fast, and he's going to try to hide behind bushes and shit. And it's going to be like, obviously you're going to see them. It's like a 4-year-old playing hide and seek out in the yard. Like, you know where they're at right away, right?
A very inconspicuous person too.
I could just imagine this guy trying to run from the police is like Bill Winnington trying to run a fast break for the Bulls back in the day, or some like other like really awkward looking tall basketball player that had like no athleticism, was just like tall, right? This is like the Sean Bradley of criminals.
Oh my God, Sean Bradley.
He's tripping all over himself trying to outrun the guys. Like, they're not even starting to run. They're just watching this guy like try to run away. They're like, can you believe the nerve of this fucker?
Yeah,
Where's he gonna go?
Sean Bradley was like the kind of like the clumsy puppy of the NBA. You know what I mean? It's not very, but no, absolutely. And you may ask yourself, Bob, you're like, well, how the hell did he do all this stuff in one night? How do you pack in that much crime? It sounds like quite a wish list, right, of things to do. But no, just to kind of sum this up a little bit more, Bob Casey committed a home invasion with 2 carjackings and was involved in multiple shootings that left a dog dead and a woman injured. He tried to kill his ex-girlfriend and took 2 roommates hostage. You know, say what you will there. I think everything was fine and dandy, and they were probably going to let him off with a warning until he hurt the dog. I think that's when he crossed the line.
That's when the buck stops.
Yeah, and this is what happens in Alabama too. You can kill some black people, you can kill some Mexicans, you can even kill your white neighbor if you like, but don't do the dog, because if you do the dog, we're going to do you dirty. And that's what happens. So I think that's the big takeaway here, Bob, is don't hurt dogs. I mean, right? That's what we're thinking. No?
Well, maybe it was a cop dog and they threw the book at him.
Oh, that could be the case. You don't fuck with those cop dogs, dude. You don't fuck with the what's that? It's not Cujo. Cujo's the rabbit dog. What was that? That was that fun little movie.
Turner and Hooch?
Turner and Hooch. Yeah.
And maybe he fucked up Hooch. So
yeah.
Well, so I'm assuming he was like on some sort of drugs or meth. I just don't think that's a bold assumption, considering like kind of the craziness that unfolded that night for him. It just doesn't seem like something a sober person goes and does. What are you doing tonight? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't go bowling with you tonight. Well, I was gonna go break into these people's house and I was gonna like try to shoot my girlfriend and kidnap his roommates or her roommates, and then I was gonna shoot the neighbor's dog on my way out and steal a couple of cars. You know, I'm really booked. Maybe next time in 75 years.
I don't know what happened here, but I mean, again, so obviously he's a man among men, a celebrity, so to speak, in the Lauderdale County jail system, right? So that's obvious. I don't know how she could get her eyes off of this guy. And did you check out kind of a little bit more details about their quote unquote special relationship? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see this special. Please elaborate.
Well, I'm just gonna read a little excerpt here. Okay, let's see. Casey and fellow inmates that the prisoner and Vicky's relationships was of a quote unquote of a different nature and extended outside of her normal working hours. We were told Casey White got special privileges and was treated differently while in the facility versus the other inmates. Obviously, there was a side to Vicki White that they weren't aware of, he continued. She had coordinated this and taken advantage of her knowledge of the system and played it to her advantage, blah, blah, blah. So basically, okay, so this is what I'm seeing here. Other prisoners and other guards were noticing that this guy was getting preferential treatment. He was getting extra ramen noodles at lunch. He was probably getting extra pillows, all kinds of cool stuff. She was hanging out after hours, after she was already clocked out. She was there early, always hanging out. It was a little suspect. People were noticing.
He got bumped up on the list and was able to work in the kitchen.
Yeah, probably. You know what they say, kitchen is power, food is power. You know what I mean? You control the food in prison. You control the prison. So there's that. So my God, Bob.
So now that we know he was in there looking at 75 years for his crime spree, right? So I I don't even know. That 75 years sounds like a life sentence, so it's probably, parole in 20 at minimum.
Yeah.
So, so this chick, rewinding it back to the story. So we got this felon in prison forever with nothing to lose because he's in there forever. And this chick is just like, you know what? I'm getting you out of here. Me and me and you, we're gonna get married. We're gonna go start a family.
Right. Best thing about it, we don't even have to change our name. We're getting in there.
Yeah. So she starts setting it all up, right? So she sells her house for $95K.
Way undervalued, by the way. I know we're talking Alabama, but still, believe it or not, folks, houses are worth a little bit more there.
In this market?
Yes, absolutely.
so she sells her house. She makes sure to have like a sweet ride so they can get away. Like a Ford Edge.
Oh, very sweet. Absolutely.
Very inconspicuous. If anyone chases after you, you'll have the upper hand.
Oh my God.
So they set all this up, right? So then she basically sets a transfer, right? That he's going to be transferring somewhere, right? To a different other, because I guess he was in a low, not like a low risk or whatever, but he wasn't in a maximum facility.
He was like minimum security, something like that. Probably a lot of, for people that aren't severely dangerous, or we'll call them menace to society type folks or what have you. I see, but you say he was transferred, and she put in the transfer. Doesn't that typically have to come from like a district attorney, a judge, a warden? Like, how did she pull these strings? What kind of white trash voodoo magic did she work on the system? Because it sounds like she was able to get a lot done.
Or is it maybe because she'd been there so long? Because retiring, she'd at least done 10 years, if not 20, right? So she'd been there for a long time. Maybe the people that would have questioned that just didn't question her. Like, you know what I mean? Because she'd been there so long, and that's part of the reason why he preyed on her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
there could be that. There could be that. That makes sense.
So anyway, she puts in for a transfer, and she like literally just drives this dude out of jail in like the prison van. So I don't exactly know when they got into her car at some point, but they did, and they went to a car wash at that point. And the plan was, let's stop at this car wash, and we're going to steal a patron's car, and we're going to transfer then and leave. Right.
Yeah.
So, and at this point, they have their getaway car, their Ford Edge, and they're loaded up with like assault rifles, fucking cash.
They got all kinds of shit in there, bud. A lot of weapons too, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
definitely.
They're really onto some Bonnie and Clyde shit. So this chick, seemingly on the straight and narrow and in law enforcement, is now willing to get this frumpy dude's dick to completely go fucking AWOL off the grid and become this criminal. Not only become a criminal, but like literally Bonnie and Clyde it, preparing to like have a shootout to the death if they get caught.
Dude, she became fucking like the fugitive, man. You know what I mean? Like straight the fuck up. She went from living the, let's call it what it is, the model citizen for public service for the local incarceration community, and literally was teetering on like, look, I can turn in my shit today. I've sold my house. I'm living with my mom right now. Things are looking great. I could just go sip sweet tea on the porch, for the rest of my life and just relax, just, under the radar, loving life. I've done it all. And she decides, no, we are literally we're gonna hold hands in our Ford Edge and drive off the fucking cliff or into an embankment, something like that. I mean, it turned out it didn't end very poetically or very pretty, but yeah, you know what I mean? What was really going on here?
They weren't even gone that long. I mean, how long was it? Like
11 days. 11 days. Yeah, 11 days total. When Jamie had brought this up to me, they still hadn't caught them yet. And she was explaining it to me when we were like having lunch one day. And I didn't know anything about this thing. And I was like, what? I started looking up. I was like, well, they're on the run. Nobody knows where they are right now. It's been a solid, like then I think it was like 8 or 9 days that they had been on the run. But I mean, they did evade for quite some time. I mean, I bet you Casey here is looking at another attempting to elude police, which I don't know. On top of that 75 years plus another 75 years, I'm not sure he's going to make it to parole. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just such a crazy story, and it's so funny how like it's not like they got caught trying to sneak into Canada, right? Or trying to sneak into Mexico, get somewhere where there's no extradition, and try to and they could stretch their dollar, right? They're not like trying to run to Costa Rica or something. They're like, where do you want to go? You've sold your house, you have like 100K in the car and some guns. Where should we go? You know what? We're gonna go where they'll never find us. We're gonna go to the great pasture lands of Indiana. You heard me, Indiana. They'll never catch us there.
Take a bite out of the Hoosier state, baby. You know what I mean? Let's go. After we go there and we relax a little bit, I'll take you to the Basketball Hall of Fame on the east side of the state. It's gonna be classic. You're gonna love it. It's interesting too, because you know what? I think the Ford Edge was just the start, right? Because they ended up ditching that car as they did figure out that she had that car, and they stole a pretty sweet black F-150 to kind of end things out. So there is that. But I mean, and here's the other thing too. You would hope, after knowing that these two lovebirds made it this far, and they're literally on the trek to go to the promised land of the Hoosier state, and literally it ends with her with a standoff with the police. She shoots herself in the head, and then Casey, like the big man he is, immediately just like rolls over and says, I'm done. I'm not going to try to fight you guys here. I'm going to go back to jail now. Somebody please help my wife. But she was already done. I mean, that was the end of that. He goes back to jail. Do you see how you can get him back in jail after this scenario and be like, what was that all for? You know what I mean? Do you feel better now? Did you get it out of your system, dude? Because now you're back in jail and you're in a worse position. Now, I really hope it was worth it. You get one of those talks like mom would give you after you did something stupid as a teenager. I feel that's coming right now. You know what I mean? For him.
Well, he got a week and a half out, right? He got some fresh air, right?
He sure did.
And then going through the Bible Belt and like weaving their way north. I'm sure they got that fresh pasture smell and that fresh farm cow shit smelling air. So they got that going. I mean, I'm sure he smashed that a couple of times at some point somewhere.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, if you take a look at her, she's a real looker too. So he better have, or it's a sin if he didn't. He needs to get in there. So I hope he did. Why it was still warm. You know what I mean? No.
What a crazy story. Like, I don't know. It's just an epic white trash fucking star-crossed lover story. It's just like, the southern white trash version of Romeo and Juliet.
It really is. I mean,
she's on the police side, he's on the criminal side. A couple that was never meant to be together finds love.
Would the police be the Capulets or the Montagues? I'm not quite sure here.
It depends on which side you thought were, the good guys or the bad guys.
I'm kind of a Montague kind of guy here. You can be a Capulet here. So I would say that and I'm going to go for her. I'm going to say she's the good one here. I'm just going to go ahead and say, after looking what Casey did, I'm going to just go ahead and say he's a Capulet. All right. And the Montagues is that sexy lady there behind me. See her? Yeah. Very nice, right?
Well, I'm trying not to look, dude. I'm trying not to look.
Rest in peace, baby. R.I.P.
I don't want to walk around with the pillow over my junk.
Oh my goodness. But yes, crazy story, interesting story. It was fun while it lasted. It only lasted 11 days though, and now it is literally just going to fade away. And that's okay, Bob. I mean, I'm glad that we could talk about it a little bit and just basically give Lifetime their programming for their next what do they call those two?
I think
the made for TV movies.
It's gonna be better than Lifetime.
Oh, really?
Someone's gonna pick this up. Someone's gonna make an actual movie out of this. It's gonna be epic. Now, if someone were to make the movie, who's playing these two lovebirds?
I'm gonna say Vince Vaughn is gonna be playing Casey, and Kristen Bell is gonna be playing Vicki. What do you think about that? Huh? At least I got the height difference right about there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Ish. Vince Vaughn's a large guy. Kristen Bell is a small statured woman.
Yes. What about you?
I don't really know. I mean, I look at him and I think, let's Hollywood it up a little bit. Let's give this character to John Cena.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And let's get this other character. I don't know the range of Amy Schumer, but can she pull it
Wow.
off?
I think so. I think,
It would be pretty epic, right?
it's going to, and if, this is her challenge too. This is going to be her Tom Hanks, attempt is what I'm going to go ahead and say there. It's going to be her attempt to come out and just do this fantastic dramatic role that's, everybody's gonna be like, whoa, never realized Schumer had it in her. I think that can happen, Bob. Good call on that, by the way. I like where you're going there. So we'll see what happens. Which studio picks it up first, so to speak.
Well,
right?
I mean, John Cena is not a small guy. I mean, he's 6'1", but they can exaggerate that, right?
Sure, absolutely. Movie magic, like
even
literally.
if not, just make him a shorter guy. Who cares?
Yeah, there you go. I like it. There we go. Well, good stuff, Bob. I mean, let's just go ahead and talk about. We'll get some things here, man. I mean, people have been leaking some things that have caused quite the issue here on just abortion in our great nation here. Which, what is it? When was Roe v. Wade? Early 70s, right?
73. All right.
Okay, yeah. So since 1973, Roe v. Wade.
I want to say it was 73.
1973. You're absolutely right, Bob. Okay, so I'm sure everybody has heard there was a little bit of a leak here, and it seems, and Bob, I think you may know the details here a little bit more than myself, in the sense that this was just a draft of an argument from one justice to the rest of the Supreme Court of justices. This was not anything more than that, correct? Tell us a little bit more.
So they heard a case a few months ago, and they're going to give their opinion and verdict on this case. And I want to believe it was abortion rights for a southern state. Maybe it was Mississippi. Either way,
Mississippi making it big time today in the show.
I know.
Twice.
Good old Taint Reeves just making headlines. So anyway, they did hear a case about abortion, and I think it had something to do with more of the timing, because states can't outright get rid of abortion right now because of the Roe v. Wade rule, right? But what they've been doing is that after the first trimester, then it's kind of anyone's game, right? You can do kind of whatever you want as a state at that point. And so states have been like Texas, did the $10,000 bounty if you see someone having an abortion after their first trimester or whatever it is. And so states have been trying to get rid of this pretty much for 40 years, right? So they had this, and then Samuel Alito. I'm trying to remember who appointed him. I want to say it was a Bush appointed Alito, but anyway, very conservative judge, in the sense of he's a traditionalist as far as judges go. So he is all about that means that he's all about the verbiage of the law in the most literal sense of it being written verbatim, right? So
by the book.
Yeah,
like
that's
literally
what traditionalists are. There's no interpretation or modernizing it or trying to evaluate this law in today's context. It's just straight up how it's written. And he wants to push back laws onto the Senate instead of interpret them and modernize them now. And that's kind of the difference between the liberal and conservative judges, more than political ideology. It's more how they interpret the law when it's being read to them. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was notorious for trying to modernize all the laws and interpret it in a way that kind of suits society today, whereas Alito's definitely not that way. But neither are a couple of the judges. Gorsuch is very much not that way. Amy Barron Coney.
I can't remember. I know who you're talking about. The one that was appointed by Trump.
The only non-Ivy League judge in the Supreme Court.
Oh,
right?
Listen to this guy taking stabs where he can.
Anyway, so this chick,
Amy Coney Barrett. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes,
so
yes,
she
yes. Justice. Again, don't get it twisted.
Associate Justice. Amy Coney.
Yes, that's good.
Right. Right. Okay. So anyway,
all right.
So that's
just
kind of
knocking her down a peg again.
That's where the differences really are, and I think a lot of people get it confused. We're like, oh, well, these are Democratic judges and these are Republican judges. Well, maybe nominated that way, but traditionally Republicans will nominate a traditionalist judge that interprets the law that way, and the Democrats will nominate a more interpretive judge, and that's kind of the real difference. I just wanted to break that down because I don't think enough people actually know that. But anyway, So Samuel Alito wrote an opinion based off of the case that they saw a couple of months ago. And basically, when Supreme Court justices write an opinion, they're trying to sell their fucking opinion to the other judges for votes so that they can pull them over to their side. So he wrote this opinion saying, hey, I just don't agree with Roe v. Wade in the sense that it needs to be tied to 14th Amendment and the right to privacy. I think that we need to kick this back to Congress to write a specific law on abortion and make the law to where we can interpret it that way. And until that actually happens, we're going to just leave this a states' right because we don't actually have this verbatim written into the Constitution as an amendment. And so what he's really saying is he's trying to kick that out and say, hey, Congress, you guys write a law for this, and then we'll interpret said law like judges do, right? And then until that's done, the states can decide their own shit, and which is fair. It's not outlandish, but again, because the part that's crazy is this has been established law, and it's been tried and for like the last 50 years. People have been running cases against this, and every time something's come up, it's been verified that this is established law. And so it's really rare to see something like this come back after 50 years of precedent that has been set.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was just thinking here too. I was like, why go back and poke Roe v. Wade with a stick right now? I mean, it's so established. It's something that you learn about this in school. You know what I mean? Like it's a big thing to learn about. There's a couple, Brown versus
like
the Board
right
of
after
Education.
The 60s civil rights, you go right into fucking Roe.
Yeah, Brown and the Board of Education and Roe v. Wade, probably the two biggest landmark cases of the 20th century. I don't even think there's a question that those are the two biggest cases. But again, and then I say to myself here, I'm like, well, why even fuck with this? I was like, well, this is a very conservative judge. So
the most conservative.
That's why. You know what I mean?
So Thomas, I would say, are probably the most conservative traditionalist judges.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anybody on the ultra conservative side that likes Roe v. Wade where it's been for the past 50 years. So I guess there's that. So I guess I just kind of contradict myself a little bit when I think, oh, why even fuck with this? Okay, I understand why they're fucking with this. But the other thing that we talked about here too, when we brought this up, is this is outside of it being like warranted or understandable from their lens or whatever. That's all fine and dandy. It just seems like a pretty interesting time to kick up this kind of division and this kind of ruckus. You know what I mean? I think we can all pretty much, like, without a doubt, say this may be the hottest, taboo, most divisive topic in American modern society. I don't think there's, I mean, honestly, is there stuff that liberals and conservatives don't agree about as much, that it's race is as much of a hot button? I don't know if there's anything bigger than this, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? And right now, literally what they're doing, as you can see now across the country with all kinds of picketing and all kinds of protesting, is obviously people are fucking really, really worked up about this, because, and rightfully so, there's a lot of people, and we've already talked about this before, that believe they should be able to do what they want with their body. And then there's other people that say, hey, no, that's not your body anymore once this happens. Okay, so we're talking about basically the individual's right versus a hypothetically a innocent person's right to live, right? So it's some pretty heavy shit, dude. But again, I don't see this ending well, and I don't even see this little I don't know what we call this. Is this like a gray area that we're going to have here, or that we literally, because we got the Dems right now in Congress trying to like do something, but it seems like it's just it seems like it's going to fail, first of all, and it's not really going to mean much in way of making this abortion like legislation right now. And then this is going to kind of supersede it anyways, right? So
speaking of that, the Democrats did put forth a bill, right? Which Chuck Schumer, who's the
Chucky baby,
the guy that's running the Senate right now, majority leader, and a Democrat, and he put forth a bill. Then he said, we're going to codify abortion, right? Which is basically kind of what I was saying. The Supreme Court's going to make the legislation, make a law. He's like, all right, well, let's codify this. Well, it was voted against 51-49,
wow,
which means every single Republican and Joe Manchin, the Democratic Republican. But
love Joe.
but what Joe said is like this wasn't against the bill. Like it was said it was codified or whatever, but it's not that it was making it legal. It expanded abortion. So I don't know exactly what he means right now. I have not read the bill. I try not to read bills that aren't going to pass. So
you don't like to get all excited for no reason, huh? I understand.
and even then, they'd need 60 votes. It's not like they need a majority. This isn't amending the budget, right? This is amending the Constitution, right? So they would need to get a 60 vote super majority on it, or at least I think it is a super majority, but because of the filibuster, right? And so, or they got to get rid of the filibuster. Well, obviously, Joe Manchin voted against it. So even that wouldn't work here. And the whole position was, well, we're going to make everyone, put their name against their vote. So interesting thing. So 2 Republicans also agreed that this wasn't a great bill. And it wasn't just simply keeping abortion legal because for sure, Susan Collins, moderate Republican from Maine, is pro-choice. She's a pro-choice Republican. And she voted against this bill. So the other one is Lisa Murkowski, is the Republican senator from Alaska, also pro-choice. She voted against this bill. So those two and Manchin all voted against this bill. They're all pro-choice inherently. So, and again, there's something to the language of it. I didn't read it because I knew they wouldn't have the votes, so I didn't really care, and I knew this was all political theater. So in this instance, I think it's more than hyperbole that they need to work together and get a bipartisan bill if they really want to protect abortion rights. And that means probably giving something to the Republican side if the Democrats are going to propose it, or vice versa. If the Republicans are going to propose something that's similar, at least making concessions to the Democrats so that they can actually get something on the books here. But it's just not going to happen. Right. So this is going to be political theater, and we're going to see how America feels about this. I think there's some political miscalculations on both sides. I think this is a great opportunity to try to get some bipartisan work here and try to reel it back in. Personally, my belief is that the government shouldn't have really much influence on our medical decisions. Very much have a libertarian stance on a lot of that shit, to where I just that's an area where we need to shrink government, is really digging into our medical decisions, I think.
Yeah, no, I can agree with you on that. It's interesting too, because I wonder here, and again, you say political theaters is a great point, in the sense of, like, I mean, this is all for show. I mean, everything right now is for show, as we're coming up to the midterm elections very shortly too. So, there's that. But it's interesting to me, like, why would they put up a bill that would be expanding, that would be more blatantly opposed by even people that are quote unquote pro-choice? That's interesting to me. Like, why not slide in there, Schumer, with something that people can swallow, so to speak, like one of these lovely embryos,
like these embryos. Yeah. It's great,
right? Well, yeah, it seems odd to me. It seems like not only was it a political theater, but it was kind of meant to be like somewhat of a slap in the face. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's see how they like this. I'm just going to blow it way out of proportion. And just like, what was the end goal here by the Dems for doing that, I wonder? And this is Schumer's bill. Who else was involved with him? Like, just drafting this up?
I don't know exactly who wrote the bill.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is probably a bill that had been written for a while and has just been sitting around, knowing that there's not votes to put it out there. But since there's votes now, I'm sure he put it out there.
Well, and while you look that up, Bob, the other thing that we had talked about earlier this week too, it does anger me too, is regardless of where you're at with personally how you feel about abortion and who should or should not be allowed to do things to their body or whatever. The shitty part about this is that they roll this back to the states as being state, like state run, in the sense that states have the decision on whether or not they're going to have legal or illegal abortions. All you're going to do is you're going to have, like, what is it? Let's call it around 20 something states that have illegal, or just made it criminalized to have an abortion in any way, shape, or form. And then you're going to be bringing the criminal element and just I hate to say, but like coat hanger abortions and shit like that back to the forefront here. And you're going to have a lot more people that are doing this dangerously and still doing it. And then obviously bringing a lot of seedy elements into the whole process, which just makes it worse for anybody. This is one of those things, just like prohibition, just like illegal drugs and everything like that too. People are going to get abortions. It's going to happen. If you take away the legitimate ways of doing it, it's just going to mean more bad news for everybody. And if people that don't believe in abortion think it's bad now, just wait until, again, the more seedy, criminal filled kind of abortions are just much more rampant, because that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, I've got a couple of things. I still don't know who wrote the bill, but I do know a couple of the big things that turned Republicans completely off to this bill. One is that there was a term, right? The Women's Health Care Protection Act would strike down all laws preventing abortion before the point where a fetus can survive outside the womb, and would permit abortion after this point if a health care provider, quote, a term that includes nurses and assistants, deems the woman's, quote, health in danger. But the term health is not defined in the bill. So they want clear constraints and definitions of everything so that there's not loopholes in this bill, right? And then the other side of it is that the bill instructs courts to liberally construe all of its definitions and remove so-called conscious protections that currently allow religious doctors and hospitals to refuse to carry out abortions. So if you go to a Catholic hospital, you're like, I need an abortion. They're like, yeah, we don't really do that. So you can't get that here. This bill would actually make them do that there. Right. And that's ridiculous. Like, why would you want to force a Catholic hospital to give abortions? It's clearly against their MO, right?
And so they might accidentally mess up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
wink, wink. You know what I mean?
You're like, not going to work. So again, with what we talked about, why would you not put a bill out there that's votable? You know what I mean? And because
it's already dead in the water before it gets there. That's
how many people are going to look this up? Because if they would have included those, they might have been able to get those 10 votes that they needed. Mm-hmm. And even if they would have gotten like 6 of them and they got real close, then they could start saying, listen, we're working with you here. And these guys are still fucking us. You know what I mean?
Do you think it's possible that the very extreme left, although few in numbers, are so mighty with influence on everybody else on the left that they couldn't possibly come with a reasonable bill because they had to appease these constituents and these other players? I wonder if that maybe is the thing, that they literally have to push it too far left, and they already kind of know subconsciously it's already dead in the water, but it's just what they have to do now.
So a brief technical hiccup, but we'll keep moving right back on. So I do think that there is a small percentage of the left, maybe 20%, if I were just to put a number on it, similar to the percentage on the right. And I would compare that percentage on the left that has the voting power and the fear that they're casting, similar to the Trumpers on the right of the Republican Party. They have this fear of losing those votes. The same as the Republican Party has a fear of losing the Trump vote. So they don't want to stray too far out of that ideology, out of losing their power. And I think that same thing happens on the left when you get the far left kind of radical progressives that want a socialist America in all sense of the words, and that exists. And I do think that matters, and I think it impacts what these bills have. Now, I don't exactly know why Chuck Schumer let a bill like this go, other than political theater, because anyone that's paying attention, if you look at this bill, it's never going to get any votes from the Republican Party. And if you have a bill that requires 60 votes, that you have to have some bipartisan shit there. And if you're not going to put it in there, it's better to have a bill that protects some rights and something that we can try to better in the future than to throw something out there that's so far away from getting any votes that you're not going to get shit from it. You're doing everyone a disservice.
Yeah, I agree, dude. And it really just seems, honestly, I've never done this, but I'm going to sit here and even imagine for somebody as shitty as a politician, drafting a bill still has to be tough work. It's still got to be a lot of man hours. You know what I mean? I'm sure they do think, like, after everything they write, okay, like, how can this be interpreted against me? You know what I mean? So it takes a lot of critical thinking. It takes a lot of analysis just internally while you're doing it to even come up with anything that's got a shot. And imagine there's like a few people sitting there like just fucking hammering this bitch out, and they know damn well what some of the shit they're having to put in there that's just not going anywhere. It's like, this is really a lot of work for no reason. You know what I mean?
Well, and this bill was already made. So
Yeah.
the leak happens, and then within 10 days, there's a vote on the Senate floor. Obviously, this bill didn't just get drafted, right?
Yeah.
So they were sitting on this bill. Why didn't they just go ahead? And first of all, the Supreme Court has not made a decision on this case. That's not coming until, I think, July. So this again, the leaked document was about him trying to convince specifically Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh to join their side. Because from what my understanding is, and the research and things that I've done, is that they're not sold on this stance as a traditionalist look at the law. And neither is Chief Justice John Roberts. And he's still trying to bring those guys over to his side. And he's pitching his ideas of why constitutionally this is incorrect. So there's this battle going on in the Supreme Court of how to interpret this law. But again, they have not made a decision on this, and it won't be announced until July. That's plenty of time to circle the wagons as the Democratic Party. Get your Republican colleagues that are pro-choice. Let's draft a bill that has language that we can get 60 votes. It may suck, but hey, can you get maybe the first trimester protected? Can you get some language in there that can at least offer something?
Yes,
right?
Because without that, I mean, again, then it's up to each individual state. And you know damn well, I think there's already over 20 states, if I remember correctly, it would just outlaw abortion straight the fuck up, not even have exceptions for cases of incest and rape and all that fun shit, and medical reasons. So literally, you could have somebody in the hospital, like just needing to get an abortion, or else they will die. And literally, the doctor will be able to face like serious criminal charges if he goes through with something that he knows can save the woman's life. This is what we're looking at right now. And yes, I think they need to just go ahead and bite their lip and just shove something over to the Republicans that they know that has a fighting chance to, because it seems like it's possible. It sounds, from talking to you especially, it sounds like there's enough people that are, we'll call it middle of the road a little bit on abortion, to where if it's reasonable and it just can include some basic things like, again, very early abortions, and then call it what it is, emergency type abortions, whether that be for, health or other reasons, because I kind of group in rape and incest into those. That's just me.
I do too.
Yeah.
that should all be in the same thing. Health, rape, incest. It just doesn't make sense to make someone go to term and produce a child, even to give it up for adoption, if it's your fucking like cousin and daughter, right? So, but I maybe it doesn't even have to do with abortion. Maybe you just simply get some legislation out there that says states can do this on their own. States can have their own abortion laws. However, states cannot penalize people for leaving the state to have an abortion somewhere else. States cannot penalize someone for, not reporting an abortion or anything like that. Maybe they start putting those protections in and let states legislate their own shit. I'm all about states' rights. We've had plenty of talks about this, but there's still protections that could be afforded.
And see, and that's where I would disagree a little bit, in the sense that I would hate for people to have to try to travel to another state to get an abortion if it was necessary, or if they really needed or wanted to. Because again, let's face it, if they really, really want to, they're going to do it. And I think, again, if you put any kind of barrier there, any kind of friction, and just make it a little bit difficult, you're going to get some pieces of shit that are going to be trash cannon fucking fetuses and stuff instead of doing the right thing. I think again, I like the underlying federal, you have to allow this to a certain extent.
What if the states that don't allow abortions, we just make it part of the Medicaid system, that you get bussed over to a state that does have abortions, and then the states get billed for that?
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just saying but there's also like contraceptives. Maybe the bill also addresses contraceptives, where you can't outlaw Plan B. Because let's be honest, Plan B is where most abortions happen.
Yeah, it's true.
Anymore. So there's definitely language and ideas and bipartisan opportunities that can be discussed, even if the bill sucks. Because here's the thing about compromise. You're married. If both of you are unhappy, you came to a good compromise. I think that's how it is, right? And that's
And you know what that means? That doesn't mean both sides are getting everything they want. That's the other thing
no.
that both the liberals and the conservatives need to understand here, especially the ones throwing out the bill right now.
But what
You
if
know
you
what I mean?
said the first trimester is going to be protected if you want to have an abortion for any fucking reason? Even though I don't agree with abortions as a form of contraceptive at all. I think that's
a lazy
despicable.
form of an after the fact lazy form of it. Yes, I think.
Yes. Oh well, I
think-
guess past the plan B, past the
Yes,
plan
yes,
B window, and you're actually going to the doctor to get a fetus pulled out of you because you're like you don't want to spend the money or whatever. I think that's kind of despicable. But if you wanted to protect the first trimester and then say, hey, that's what needs to be protected. But then after that, you start looking at different options for some of these more Bible Belt states that want these different protections. There's got to be a way to come up with something bipartisan that sucks on both sides, but gives some protections and is at least a fucking starting point.
Yes, we at least need a base here. We need a base of understanding here. And that's where I think, call me optimistic in this sense or whatever, but I think if a bill was presented that was rooted in just like rational human being kind of understanding, yeah, I know just very rational, just very empathetic. I think we get it across the finish line here. And you're absolutely right, though. It would not be something you go back to your team and say, look what I got done. You'd say, well, at least there's that. And I don't think either side can I don't think they can take that as the product of what they're doing right now for them or their crazy fanatical constituents. You know what I mean? That's just kind of where things
and maybe
are at.
that's what it is. I can't go back to the extreme right and tell them that, well, we're allowing abortions up to the first trimester. Oh, so you fucking caved. We're voting you out. Or go back to the left and say, well, we're going to let them ban abortions after the first trimester. We're voting you out. You fucking caved.
Yeah.
That's what compromise is. And honestly, Scott, up until the last like 15 years, that's how it's always worked. We've always had a bill that's come up and it's been kind of sucked. And we've always complained about this, that they don't do enough. They pass these bills that don't even work. Yes, but they were passing bills that were bipartisan and they were bases, at least to get something on the books. And right now they're not even doing that. And all this dog and pony show really pisses me off from Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. Putting some bullshit out here to try to fucking trick people that you're doing something is horseshit. Because if you don't have the votes, you're not doing anything.
And you know what? You know what's really sad too, and you know this, and they know this, is what the shitty part is too. How many people right now that are outraged, one side or the other, or both sides, actually know any details or the language of this bill? I bet you it's overwhelmingly the minority of people actually know the details of what's going on in this bill and why it's dead in the water.
Maybe 20%.
Maybe a hard maybe on that. Yeah. So, well, you said something earlier too, and nobody really likes when something is kind of sucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, listen, if you're supposed to get a blowjob, but your significant other isn't feeling and you get a handy, you got to take that. You got to take your wins.
You do.
I mean, a handy is better than nothing.
Yeah, you can't donkey punch her and then move on with your day. You got to really take that shit and run with what you get. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ.
I know.
Bob.
That's it. We just need to run for Congress. Enough with the dumb shit.
There it is. You heard it here first, folks. Don't half suck anything. Bob's running for Congress.
Well, how are we doing on time, buddy?
I'm not sure with my technical difficulties over here of my power down over here. I think we're getting pretty close, though. I think it's probably a good time to start the curtain call. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, I was just wondering, as I haven't been paying attention at all.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's kind of your theme today, Bob. You know what I mean?
I know. I'm a total fucking asshole today.
What show?
I'm narcissistic, egotistical, egocentric, fucking prick. That's Bob West today.
Oh, well, it's not all that bad, but no, I think we're about there, bro. So,
I do want to point out that I had 4 consecutive pars. So,
oh yeah, well, Bob, that's kind of another thing about you too. You're always just good enough, right? So,
yeah. I shot 8 over in the front 9, and I'll take that. That's okay.
Hey, but right before we close out here, I just noticed something here that's just simply amazing. I can't stop staring at it, and usually it's like when I look down. But today I'm looking a little bit up and I'm seeing that beautiful TST hat that you got rocking there, Bobby. When did you get that bad boy? I'm jealous. I don't have one. I'll be
I
honest.
gotta say, this was produced by the Stiff Truth LLC.
So that means Bob had little Mexicans making it in a sweatshop.
That's not true. That is not true. I resent that. They were fucking Cambodian. Got this new hat, and this is actually the original prototype. I actually made a different one for our favorite raging stiffy, Miss Shelley Jinkowski, and
fantastic.
And I actually sent it up to her, so she'll be having it this afternoon, and hers actually came out a lot better than this one. So when you're down later in the month, we're gonna make you not only a hat, but we're gonna make you some swag. We're gonna make a trip to Michael's. I don't know if we'll have enough time, but
God, don't sell me a good time without coming through, Bob. We better now it's really built up. So
I gotta say, these hats that we picked are fantastic.
Yeah,
they
really
fit
are.
great. They have a great symmetrical curve to them out of the box. They're trucker hats.
Mm-hmm.
And we love the white trashness of that.
Hey, this one's for Vicki, baby. This one's for Vicki. R.I.P. girl. R.I.P.
This one's for the whites, no relation.
That's a good way to say it. I like that.
so yeah, I had a lot of fun trying to figure out how to make this, and I'm glad you're noticing, and I can't wait for you to get yours. It's fantastic. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
Oh, there it is, folks. Well, I'll tell you what. Everybody can get a Stiff Truth hat if you listen to the Stiff Truth. That's what I heard. I heard Bob is willing to make anybody that listens to the Stiff Truth and subscribes to our YouTube channel a hat. Right, Bob?
This is
right?
what happens when you go golfing.
Right? You got the Colombians working for you. So, well, hey, I think we are about out of time, Bob. So let's go ahead and wrap this up here. What do you say?
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. Because soon you might not be able to. It might be illegal.
Boy, that would be rough. Well, on that note, thanks so much for joining us today. It was a blast. Hey, you know what? We still got it done, Bobby. It's great to see your face. You look like you got a little color too. Got a little color today. That looks nice on you. Good for you.
I did. I got outside of my house and I saw the sun for a second. So I use 70 proof, 70 proof, 70 SPF sunscreen.
There you go. There you go. Well, you know, I think Casey White's story inspired you to get out and see a little bit of sunshine too, because that's what he did for a little while. So he appreciates that. So, but hey guys, check us out: YouTube, podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify. What's the other ones? Is Stitcher one of them too? I don't even know if anybody uses that.
It's basically anywhere that you can listen to a podcast, you'll find us there. We're like cockroaches. There's going to be 3 things that happen after World War III, right? Cockroach is going to resurface, Cowboy fans are going to come out, and the Stiff Truth episodes are going to be able to be found on podcasts.
And with that, we will see you next week. Take care, everybody.
See ya.